afternoon. I'm coming to you exactly 6 months after the official announcement that there was a pandemic and that all small businesses and all schools had to close and that people needed to shelter in place. This was on March 15th, 2020. So today is September 15th, 2020. It's exactly 6 months since that first announcement took place. I wanted to take just a few minutes to go over what I have learned, what we have learned, and I speak for my husband when I come to you on this platform by myself. And I'm hoping to hear from other people to also hear what they have learned and what they've discovered in this very strange time in history that we are all experiencing together. There are a few different things that I have discovered over the last 6 months, and I'm not reading from a script, so I apologize if I'm coming across a little scattered, but I'm just sort of going over everything that's happened over the last 6 months, and it's really kind of enlightening, and it's become something more than what I thought it would originally be, if that makes sense. The first thing that I learned, I think the first point that I learned in this experience in the last 6 months is that the idea or the propaganda or the marketing technique around the COVID-19 narrative offered an opportunity for those who were not born into a meritocracy, like so many privileged people who are driving the COVID narrative and driving the fourth industrial revolution, technocratic or techno-fascist agendas. Those who are driving it were born into a meritocracy. And what I'm finding is the victims of the techno-fascism who were not born into a meritocracy. We're talking working class. We're talking people who were born into institutional poverty and people who inherited their poverty over years have suddenly found themselves on equal footing with the very people that they have always turned away from and that they have always secretly or outwardly hated, because those people, usually living on coastal cities and coastal regions, had an opportunity that those who might be considered living in something like flyover country never had those opportunities. And suddenly, through the lens of a great pandemic, in this great reset, suddenly those people find themselves on equal footing. When you all wear a mask, nobody knows if you're born into poverty and if you only have a third grade education or if you've got a PhD. Nobody knows. Nobody can tell. So for those people that were not born into that meritocracy, they have found a place with the very people that have always dismissed them and always used their class and their opportunities and their meritocracy against the poor in this country. So that was the first thing that I noticed through the lens of COVID and through this propaganda, was that it gave an opportunity for equity or equal footing for everyone. So I thought that was interesting. Now, is that opportunity going to be used for good or bad? I don't know. I'm not the driver of this thing. I can only view it from my position, which again, as I've stated before in some of my audio podcasts, that I feel like I'm mostly an armchair sociologist or an armchair anthropologist through this thing. I am only witnessing and describing what I witness as we go along. Another thing that I've noticed through the last 6 months, and something else that has become very apparent to me, and it became very apparent to me very early on, was that we would eventually find allies with people that we would never ever in a million years consider to be allies. As libertarian socialists or leftists or anarchists, those people who look at the government as the thing that impedes you from your individual rights and your individual freedoms. That's how anarchists view the government. We view the government as getting in the way of what is born within us already. So for us to find allies with people in the government who may be of a conservative leaning was very surprising to us. It was incredibly shocking to us, actually, to find that we had common ground and that we both believed in the fundamental need for individual rights. No matter what the circumstances and no matter what the situation, those individual rights and those inborn freedoms should never be compromised, no matter what situation arises. So we found an ally, we found allyship with those conservatives and with those people who believe that. There are other things about their belief systems that we do not embrace, but we are willing to overlook that for the bigger cause. And the bigger cause is the erosion of individual rights and freedoms. This is the fundamental issue. It is not a health, we do not believe that it is a health crisis. We do not believe that it is a crisis of the small business community going away. We believe that it is a crisis of freedom, a crisis of individual rights that are very quickly being eroded. And 6 months into this, 6 months, for so much to happen in 6 months is a staggering discovery. A staggering discovery. We don't act in fear. We're not afraid. But we are certainly shocked at how quickly individual rights and freedoms could so easily be eroded. Another thing we discovered, or that I've personally discovered, is that there are those people who I assumed would be my allies, who I assumed would be on board with the need to maintain individual rights and freedoms, and they immediately were willing to give them up. People that we know and that we are very close with all over the world who just quickly gave them up. This was very shocking to us personally. These people are good friends of ours. This was very shocking to us. People have unfriended us on social media because they would prefer to give up their freedoms and give up their individual rights. They preferred it. And we didn't. And therein lies the break. And they unfriended us. We did not unfriend them. We did not put the barrier up. They did. So this was also very shocking to me, and a deep, painful discovery that we both, had to come to terms with over the last 6 months as this thing continued to present itself and insert itself into our personal lives and into our medical system as well. We also discovered that despite what a person believes, we personally believe that it's a techno-fascist marketing campaign with the goal of inserting AI into every aspect of our life, artificial intelligence into every aspect of our life, every aspect, that there is no privacy. That is what we personally believe. So in order to do that, they had to create an emergency. They had to fabricate an emergency in order to assert extreme violations of privacy and extreme violations into your private life. They had to create an emergency in order to do that. That's what we believe on this platform. Some of our followers believe that. Some of our followers don't. And we welcome everyone. Some people believe that it is truly a health crisis and they behave accordingly. Now, we also behave accordingly. We don't flaunt our belief system out in public. It makes me extremely uncomfortable to see the world at large in a mask being manipulated and being scaremongered and fearmongered to the point that they can't even think for themselves. This is very, very difficult for me personally to have to see. The erosion of human beings, the erosion of critical thought, the erosion of individual rights. This is very difficult for me to see, and it's become more and more difficult and more challenging over the last 6 months. So much that I have rarely been to the store. I rarely go places where I think that there will be a whole society of masked people all around me. It hurts me. I can't function, I can't handle it, so I just get my food and whatever I need delivered to my door, which is unfortunate because this process of ordering online only gives the artificial intelligence and the AI more information it needs to take over. So I'm ultimately doing a huge disservice to mankind by being online and ordering, but I don't know what else to do. So this is a huge discovery on my part as well. But one thing that I have discovered, I try to look at all of this, terrible techno-fascist overreach, and I try to find something good out of it. And one thing that I have discovered is that no matter what you believe, if you believe that it is a virus, and you do believe that we are in a serious health crisis and that we must abandon all of our individual rights and freedoms that we are born with, and that we must abandon our privacy, and that we must abandon the rule of law, and that we must walk away from established law and constitutional protections in order to fight this virus. If you believe that, or if you believe the very opposite of that, which is that you should never abandon individual rights and freedoms, and that your constitutional protections are more powerful than any emergency whatsoever. So no matter what end of the spectrum you sit on regarding this, there is a commonality, and the commonality is that it needs to end. Both people on both sides, I've noticed, again, as an armchair anthropologist here, looking at both ends of it, my takeaway from both ends of the spectrum is that they're saying the same thing. We need to lock down. We need to put our mask on. We need to socially distance. We need to close all businesses, destroy local economies, destroy people's lives. We need to do all this in order to fight this terrible thing so we can get back to normal, so that we can get back to those freedoms and those opportunities, and those businesses can reopen, and we can all be healthy again and get out there and have concerts and go to festivals and do all the things that we love to do and be together and commune as human beings. We need to do this. We need to come together and do this. And that's the bottom line. The bottom line is to get back to something that we all once had before. And the other end of the spectrum is basically saying the exact same thing. The exact same language is coming out of their belief system as well. We would like to be able to hold on to the freedoms and the freedom of movement and the constitutional protections that we have that protect us, that protect those inborn rights that we were born with. We would like to be able to get back to a free society, a free moving, open society. So both ends of the spectrum, both people are saying the same thing. And this is a profound announcement that's coming from both ends. I find this really interesting, that the means to get to an open and free society again are different, but ultimately the goal is the same. So I find that very fascinating over these last 6 months. That's been my discovery. I've also become extremely good friends with people who I'm hoping one day that I'll have an opportunity to meet. I'm hoping that, we can cross borders and eventually get to the point where we can meet each other in person, So I never thought in a million years that I would make so many friends and have so many supporters who believe in our work and who believe in the stronger, deeper message, which is that we need an open society. If it's a brand new society that is carved out of the shell of the old society, then so be it. But whatever the case, we all agree that we need an open society. And the people that we have become close with and the people that we have connected to that agree with us, those are profound connections that I never thought in a million years I would ever make. We're talking some of the most brilliant minds and empathy-driven people that you will ever meet. These are the people that you want in your corner as you carve out a new society, an open society that is free of fear. What is driving this entire thing is fear. That's all. Fear of a virus if you don't wear a mask. Fear of a virus if you don't get a vaccine. Fear of a virus if you don't close your business. Fear of a virus if you don't mask up your kids when you send them to school or put them in plastic coverings or whatever. It's all about the fear. An open society has the right amount of fear, has the proper amount of fear to drive it to success. But fear is not the driving factor for an open and free society. And those of us who do not live in fear and have never lived in fear are going to carve out the free and open society that has the right amount of fear to keep the thing from going crazy. You need to have a certain amount of laws and fear and respect for what could happen if you let things get out of control. Another thing that I have discovered over the last 6 months is the lack of understanding about how the law works and also what freedom really means. People over the last 6 months have made these incredibly bizarre statements like, the Department of Health said this thing in a mandate, therefore it's law. No, it's not law. That's not how laws work. Or, my government tells me that I'm free. Well, no, that's not what the government is for. The government is not there to tell you that you're free or not. When you are born, from the very first breath you take, the minute that you enter into this world, you are free. And your government and the Constitution protects those inborn freedoms. So you are already free. And for a government to tell you that you're not is not a government, it's not a democracy, it's fascism. So over the last 6 months, I feel that I've been patiently in my own way trying to explain to people and educate people about what it means to be a free and open society and what it means to be a free individual. So some people have absorbed the information that I've shared and the suggestions, and some people have taught themselves and taken my lead and just learned so much on their own. And some people have pushed back and said, I don't agree with you, I don't believe you. I've also learned over the last 6 months that kindness does not mean weakness. I have a tendency to allow myself to be there for people until there's nothing left for me. And I have had to cut off relationships that have not filled me up, that have not done what they need to do for me. And I have done nothing but give and give and give to them. I have had to cut off relationships. And it's very painful because they may not understand why I had to suddenly cut off the relationship. And I don't want to cause pain in people's lives, but I need to be here for myself and for my health and also for my husband. And this idea that we should be caring for the common good by wearing a mask and doing all these things in the face of a deadly virus, this idea that you want to care for your neighbors and your family members has been exploited. This is another discovery that I've made, is the exploitation of the human experience. The human experience is driven by compassion and empathy and wanting your family and friends and your neighbors to be well and happy and cared for and successful and respected. They want respect more than anything. And this experience has taken all of those things that make you a human being, all those wonderful aspects of yourself that make you a human being, and it has exploited it for very, very sinister agendas that will end up hurting you in the long run. Some people are aware of it and have become very astute about understanding when they are being exploited. Other people have fallen for that exploitation and believe that they're doing good when they're actually investing in more harm to themselves. This has been a profound discovery in this most strange time that we have never ever had before on the globe. Where on March 15th, 2020, exactly 6 months from today, a global reset took place. And all individuals who were born with freedoms and rights and a human experience, all of that was taken away from them by just a few people with a lot of money. Some countries, I've discovered over the last 6 months, are actually not affected by this at all and have turned their back on the entire process and are doing okay. Some countries have come out in droves to protest against this great reset of humanity, if you will. And some countries have been okay with it and haven't done anything to really fight it. And they've allowed themselves to be sort of taken over. And some of my friends live in those countries. And it's very chilling to watch. So the last 6 months has been this most remarkable time for me personally. And I'm sure that if you take some time to reflect on your own, that you will find some great discoveries within yourself as well. That you will also find that what you have learned has surprised you to no end. I'm always surprised at what I've discovered. We have spent the last 6 months curating our platform Book of Hours, and it has really flourished as we continue to archive history, check in with you through our bookmark podcasts, and do things like this where we talk very straightforward about the situation and we don't hold back. Being open like that has given you strength, and it's given us strength as well. We've discovered that sometimes being kind is not the way to go in certain situations. Somebody has to be the adult in the room and tell it like it is. And some of the things that we say in our new model series are difficult to hear and very difficult to embrace and very difficult to grasp. I understand that. But I'm not here to mince words. I feel that we don't have time for that. And that's another thing that I've discovered too, is how little time we do have. And the sense of urgency around forging a new free open society out of the shell of the old, forging that is going to take time, but we must start the process now. It needs to start right now. We started the process when we decided to use our platform to archive what we understand what is going on. Another thing that we have discovered over the last 6 months is that with a little bit of hard work and a little bit of effort and a little bit of understanding about the way soil and the ground works, we have been able to feed ourselves through our garden, through our vegetable garden. And we have been able to bring beauty to the neighborhood by planting all sorts of flowers in our front yard. So as much time as we have spent on the Book of Hours platform, creating the videos, we have also spent an equal amount of time working on our gardens. And that is a very fulfilling, cyclical thing. It's a very spiritual thing, and it makes our environment very healthy and very happy. As we move into the fall and then the winter, especially for those of us who live in areas where climate will change naturally, snow is going to come in a few months. It's already starting to get cold. I encourage you to be as healthy as you can. Keep your immune system up. I do not want to see anybody that I am connected with or friends with suffering through the winter months. Reach out to me if you have questions. I can tell you what I do. I have teas and supplements and tinctures and an exercise regimen that I follow. So we can talk about that. But what I wanted to do was come here on September 15th, 2020, and say that in the last 6 months, this has been a profound discovery about the world, about each other, and about the government, and about the corporations. This has been the techno fascists. This has been a profound discovery, and it's something that I chose to do. I could have easily just stepped away from all of this and closed my eyes to everything going on and tried to remain in the dark about everything, because ignorance can sometimes be bliss, as we know. But knowledge is power. And in order to carve a new, free, open society out of the shell of the old, we need knowledge. Not to be blissfully ignorant, but we need knowledge in order to do that. So we will continue to learn, and hopefully within the next 6 months, there will be more positive than negative. I'm already starting to see little changes here and there, so that's good. In the legal system, in the justice system, people are being taken to court. Federal judges are making rulings. This is all good stuff. This is all stuff that we need to push ourselves into a new society. And last but not least, I'll leave you with this. You are not a virus. You are not a vector for a deadly disease. You are not, despite the propaganda on every street corner, despite every commercial, every feel-good little commercial that talks about, I keep you safe and you keep me safe, and all the propaganda and the millions of dollars that have put into making you feel like you are somebody that could be carrying something very, very deadly. You're not. You're not. You're a human being. You're full of error, but you're also full of your own human experience, your own individual experience, and it needs to continue in order for humanity to continue. It really must. That's kind of what's at stake right now. And that's something that, over the last 6 months, I've discovered that in very profound ways and very deep and meaningful ways. And I hope that you have as well. I think that's all I have to say. I appreciate everything everybody has done for us. And I look forward to what the next 6 months may bring. Thanks. Bye. Book of Hours is determined to remain an essential platform that offers a creative interpretation for lockdown skeptics and experts who have been censored by mainstream press. Thanks to your donations, we can carry on doing this essential work as working artists. These big issues of the day are vital and need to be heard. So please share our videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel, make a one-time donation on our PayPal page, but most importantly, please be a part of our team on our Patreon page. Go to patreon.com/bookofhours and hit the blue button titled Become a Patron. Thank you.